everyone, thanks for joining today. My name is Parker. I'm the Health and Wellbeing Specialist in Risk Services, and I'm really excited to kick off our new series, Wellness in Action, where we'll highlight a topic in well-being, talk about how it can benefit you in your day-to-day routine, and share some quick ideas for you to start trying out today. We'll give you 2 weeks to practice, and then we'll meet up again to hear about what worked for folks, what didn't work, and share even more ideas on how to improve this area of our lives. So today we'll be talking about sleep. I'm glad you're all on board with getting the best sleep you can, because I'm sure you know that when you sleep better, you feel better too. So first, I have a question for you. How much sleep do you typically get on most days lately? Thanks for sharing your answers. It looks like some of us get about 7 hours of sleep and the majority get 6 or less hours. So knowing where you're starting is key to help you decide on where you want to go. If you are getting enough sleep, then you can fine-tune your habits. But if you want to get more, you can look out for some areas that you want to get started with that we'll cover today. So today we'll talk about how sleep works, some different components of what good sleep is, and small changes that you can make in your routine. We'll also talk about how to add new habits into your routine. And as we go about the topic for today, my question of the day for you is, what are you looking to gain from improving your sleep? Whether it's getting more energy or focus, better mood, or even to enhance your workout recovery, whatever it is, let that reason be the most important to you. All right, for just a quick background on sleep, your sleeping and your waking cycles are governed by your circadian rhythm. It's your internal biological clock, and it really likes to run with consistency, just like a regular clock. So it attunes itself to your daily habits and your routines. So in the morning, it starts by waking you up with a little bit of cortisol. And yes, I do know that's a stress hormone and we don't want too much. But in this case, its role is to wake you up. Your circadian rhythm also responds to your eating schedule to help prepare you for digestion, helps to also regulate your hormone release throughout the day, and maintain energy levels. In the evening, when light starts to dim, it signals to your body to release melatonin, which is the hormone that helps you fall asleep. So your circadian rhythm is like your body's internal clock, while sleep pressure is your body's biological need to actually sleep. So as you go about your day, your body uses glucose for energy, and it creates a byproduct called adenosine. As it builds up in your brain throughout the day, it contributes to sleep pressure, which makes you feel tired as the day goes on. And actually, caffeine interferes with the adenosine receptors in your brain, so you feel less sleepy after you have your morning coffee. But we'll definitely come back to that a little bit later. So there was a time when the phrase "sleep is for the weak" was a phrase that was really popular. But actually, sleep is part of our biology, and it's a requirement for being physically healthy and also mentally resilient. But why is that? Even though we are resting, sleep is actually a pretty active state. So there are different processes that happen while you're sleeping. First, toxins that build up in your nervous system throughout the day, including the adenosine we just mentioned, those get flushed out during sleep. And for folks who like to exercise, muscle recovery happens the most while you sleep. It's when growth hormone is released in its highest amounts. The immune system also produces more cells to help protect you from getting sick. And blood pressure and heart rate naturally decreases while you sleep. and that can be beneficial for heart health. When we do get good sleep, our blood sugar regulation and insulin sensitivity function optimally during the day, and that's because glucose metabolism and appetite hormones that let you know if you're full or you're hungry, as well as stress hormones, are all impacted by sleep. Your brain also needs sleep to form new connections and to restructure. This is a process known as neuroplasticity, where your brain is consolidating memories and transferring some of them to long-term storage. And that's why we tend to learn better when we sleep. Your focus and your attention span are also much better too. So if any of you are instructors, you can go ahead and ask your students to really reconsider pulling all-nighters before a test, because studies show that we learn better when we get a chance to sleep the night before. This rest and processing that happens during sleep also helps to reduce mental stress, so you're able to think more creatively and clearly. It also helps us with emotional regulation throughout the day and helps you make healthy choices as well. Research shows that when individuals get poor sleep, they tend to choose unhealthy foods that are high in salt, fat, and simple sugars. People are also less likely to exercise or move their bodies. It makes sense, they're tired, but over time this can lead to chronic diseases. In studies, we see better health outcomes associated with better sleep, in part because in research, we see better health outcomes associated with better sleep, in part because being well rested helps our body function optimally, but also because being well rested makes it easier for us to make healthy choices throughout the day. We see decreased risk for conditions like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and infectious diseases. Good sleep depends on the quantity, quality, and consistency that you're getting. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. A few folks may need more than 9, and a few may need less than 6. But ask yourself first, are you actually sleeping enough throughout the night? Or are you just used to the amount of sleep that you're already getting? To find your ideal bedtime, decide how many hours that you want to be sleeping and count backwards from the time that you want to wake up. And while you're sleeping, try to stay within plus or minus 20 minutes of that time frame. As for quality, are you waking up in the morning feeling refreshed and rested? Or are you waking up throughout the night, maybe tossing and turning, preventing you from getting restful sleep? And finally, a consistent sleep schedule is really key to supporting your circadian rhythm. So that does mean also keeping the same schedule on the weekend as best as you can. So now let's talk about some small changes that you can make in your routine to support your sleep hygiene habits, which are the things and routines that you do to help support getting good quality sleep. We'll talk about things you can do during the day, how to adjust your lighting, optimizing your sleeping environment, and winding down. Starting with things you can do during the day. Go outside every day and get morning sunshine if you can, because bright light is a cue for your body to be awake and to be alert. Going outside also helps you to move your body, which you should also do every day. And additionally, being outside in nature has been found to help reduce stress levels and to promote feelings of calm. Moving your body could be walking, it could be exercising, errands, or even doing chores around the house. But try not to do anything too intense close to bedtime. And that is because really intense physical activity releases cortisol, but this is also normal. And as you know now, cortisol helps to keep us awake and to be alert and to give us energy. So we just want enough time for all of that to process before it's bedtime. So do intense physical activities earlier in the day. Next, eat nutritious foods. Diets that are high in vegetables and fruits are associated with decreased stress levels, but also improved sleep. This can be fresh veggies and fruits, but also it could be frozen or canned or dried. Just choose ones that are low or have no added salt and sugar. As for meal times, finish eating at least 2 hours before bedtime if you can, because digesting is a process that is best during waking hours. Next, minimize afternoon caffeine. So if you remember, caffeine interferes with adenosine receptors to keep us awake for longer, but it has a half-life of about 6 or so hours. And that means after 6 hours, your body has gotten rid only half of that caffeine. So if it's too late in the afternoon, the caffeine that remains in your body at bedtime can impact your quality of sleep. And lastly, avoid tobacco and avoid alcohol in the evenings. Tobacco is a stimulant, so it can keep you up. And alcohol is a depressant, so it interferes with deep sleep. And although you may fall asleep easier, the sleep you're getting is not restful. Now for lighting. Light is such a powerful influence in our sleeping and waking cycle. So in the morning, remember to get that really bright light in. And in the evening, replicate the setting sun inside by dimming the lights in your home. And better yet, if you can, go outside and watch the sunset. I do know that it's overcast in the evenings around Santa Cruz sometimes, but if you can't get outside, melatonin is released in the evening when the lights start to dim. And so that signals to your body that it's time to start getting ready for sleep. Start winding down before bed at least 30 minutes to about an hour beforehand. And if you can, put away electronics. I know that it's easier said than done, but if you do need to use a screen before bed, switch it to a warm or a nighttime setting and turn the brightness down to reduce stimulation. Here are some ideas to optimize the space that you're sleeping in. First, clutter can create subconscious stress. So take a few minutes to pick things up after you get home or before you go to bed. And if you can, keep your room cool. You can use a blackout curtain or a fan or crack open a window, because in preparation to fall asleep, your body does drop a couple degrees in temperature. Your eyes also recognize light even while you're asleep, so keep your room as dark as possible by using an eye mask or, again, a blackout curtain. And you can even use black tape to cover the power lights on your electronic devices. And then finally, try to neutralize any outside noises. You can use a sound machine, or YouTube has white noise recordings, as well as anywhere that you listen to music. And if you are someone who likes to fall asleep to a show, choose a show that's pretty low-key, that you're very familiar with, and make sure the volume is low enough. Turn off the screen if that's possible. If you're someone who struggles to fall asleep, focus on creating a bedtime ritual to wind down. Again, all of your devices can be really mentally stimulating, so you can set a really clear time to turn off all of your devices and instead pick up a relaxing hobby like drawing or puzzles or knitting. To relax your body, you can do a few minutes of light stretching or deep breathing or meditating. You can also wind down by reading a book or listening to a calming audiobook or maybe even bedtime stories. You might brew tea as a really nice nighttime ritual. Herbal teas like lavender and chamomile also have calming properties that are good to lower stress and to help promote sleep. If stress or racing thoughts are keeping you up at night, there's a few different things you can try. The first is brain dumping, where you write everything on your mind down onto a piece of paper. You can also journal or use cognitive shuffling. And in cognitive shuffling, you would choose a random neutral word, like I, as in eyeball, and assign random neutral words to each letter, like elephant, yogurt, and eyeglasses. And this is to distract your brain from overthinking. But if you can't fall asleep, try to get out of bed and do something else for a little bit, because we're wanting to associate the bed with sleep. Avoid checking the clock if you can, because that may increase anxiety and stress, and it can make it harder to fall asleep. So we did talk about a lot of things, but don't worry, you don't have to do all of the things. But for the new habits that you want to try, let's talk about how we can make them stick. So first, let's talk about goals and outcomes. Outcomes are the big picture idea of what we want to achieve. So this is like sleeping better and waking up more rested in the morning. Whereas goals are things that we want to do and try to achieve that outcome. So goals are actionable and they're measurable. They tell you what you need to do and when you need to do it. So the more specific your goal is, the better. So what can one do to feel more rested in the morning? Maybe try breathing exercises before bed. So next, let's phrase that into an implementation intention. And this identifies a cue to remind you when to start the action of the goal. So for instance, when it's 10 p.m. and I get into bed, I will do 3 minutes of deep breathing. Let your goals be achievable and realistic for you. So if you don't do any deep breathing, starting out with 3 minutes might be a lot better than trying out for 15 minutes, and you can always work up to it slowly. Don't be afraid to start out really, really small. The key is to make the goal easy enough for you to do every day. And even if you're someone who could go all in and add a bunch of things at one time, do take a moment to still figure out what the smallest step is that you can take so you can still make progress to your goals, even on days where life might get into the way. You also might try habit stacking, where you attach your new habit onto one that's already existing. So when we get into bed at night, that's an existing habit that's already occurring. We attach deep breathing to that. So when we get into bed every night, that's the existing habit and cue that we're attaching deep breathing onto. So mentally fill in your own implementation intention in the form of when and your cue, followed up with I will and your action. When you do start something new, tracking can be really, really helpful because it makes your progress visual, which can be really encouraging and really motivating. But if you aren't seeing those boxes checked off, then you know that you can go back to the drawing board and figure out a new approach or any ways around obstacles that you ran into. Tracking can also be really simple too. Many devices have health tracking and sleep tracking built into them, so you can go in and enable those settings. And there are also plenty of apps that are specifically made to help support good sleep. But you also can just check boxes off of your calendar, or you can make a spreadsheet or track it in your journal. There are also endless resources pretty much available to help support good sleep, just depending on what angle you're approaching it at. You can also check your health plan's wellness benefits And they sometimes give you access to stress relieving apps and other support too. You can find smart alarms, which are sometimes included in apps, but they wake you up really gently in the morning with either increasing noise or a brightening light. And for stress relief, Calm and Headspace are the most popular apps, and they have breathing exercises, guided meditation, calming music, and even bedtime stories, which was really surprising for me to learn doing the research for this presentation. Bedtime stories are not just for children. We can also benefit from them too. So thank you for joining today. I'm looking forward to seeing you at our follow-up session in 2 weeks on Thursday, February 5th. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Good luck.